Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Psilly Talk podcast. I'm your host, Shally, and on this podcast, we talk about all things mindset, mushrooms, wellness, and personal development. Today's episode is going to be all about how practicing holistic health literally upgraded my life. It made my life so much better. When it comes to health and wellness, people only focus on diet and exercise. They're like, you have to work out this many times a week, wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, and then you can only stay this keto diet or Mediterranean diet or whatever kind of diet. That's what people think about when they think about health and wellness. But holistic health is so much more than that. It deals with all aspects of your life, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, and even the relationship that you have with yourself and with other people. Your being is composed of your mind, body, and soul. And when all three of those are in harmony, the quality of your life is just so much better. Things go so much more smoother. You're in a state of flow. You don't really feel like you're forcing things and whatnot. Your life is genuinely it just feels great. So let's take it back to the pandemic. During the pandemic, as we know, I was very deep into my mushroom journey. I was unlearning a lot of things, especially when it came to my overall health and well-being. I was a chronic party girl and I did not want to drink alcohol anymore. I just didn't want to participate in that type of lifestyle anymore. I started paying more attention to the foods I was eating. I was considering my mental health and my current friendships and relationships. Well, my friendships and relationships at that time. I was just realizing things. So when the pandemic happened, I had lost my job and my health insurance, and there was this huge deadly sickness going around. And I was like, all right, sick, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep myself healthy and stay safe? And I was also living in Miami, which was a huge hot spot for COVID at that time. I was also very deep into TikTok and just watching TikTok. I wasn't posting on it at the time yet. And I was learning a lot. And I was learning a lot about holistic health in the sense of herbs and herbal remedies. It just kept popping up on my For You page all the time. Herbs, this herbal remedy, that tea, that tincture, this and that. And I was like, ooh, I want to learn more about this. And I'm Jamaican. So a lot of herbs and natural remedies, it's normal. It's normalized in my culture, but I never really dove into that aspect. I would, drink tea here and there, but it wasn't I don't feel good, I'm going to drink this tea, or this is hurting, I'm going to rub this herb on my leg. I wasn't like that before until the pandemic when I started to learn about it. So as I started learning about herbs and drinking different herbal teas and mixing them and doing different tinctures and topicals, this and that, I started to genuinely feel better. And I was like, yo, wait, this stuff works. What? This is awesome. The better I felt, the more I wanted to stay on this path. I was learning so much. I felt like I was in school, but I was excited because I was learning about stuff that I wanted to learn about. Stuff that they don't teach you in school, by the way, that they should be teaching us in school. But that's for another conversation. Anywho, I was learning so much and just getting so excited and trying all these different remedies and trying all these different wellness products and doing these different teas and all these different healing modalities to help my mind, body, and soul. And I was like, wait, I'm waking up and I'm feeling great. I'm sleeping through the night great. I feel amazing. This is awesome. So one of the first things that I learned is that your gut is linked to your mind, and what you eat directly affects how you think and how you feel. That's why it's called your gut instinct, because it's your instinct, you might be thinking that, but it's oh, I feel it in my gut. It's yeah, babe, because they're connected. They're one. And so that started to get me thinking. I'm like, okay, so when I eat good and I eat healthy and I'm eating right, I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel right. But when I'm eating like shit and I'm eating garbage, I feel like shit. I feel like garbage. It was even literally affecting my thoughts and making me feel more anxious and depressed when I was overindulging and eating crappy foods. And I've never been an advocate of traditional diets and food restrictions. You can't eat that. You only need to eat at these times, 3 times a day. I eat when I'm hungry. I drink when I'm thirsty. I sleep when I'm tired. That's just really what it is. I don't ever restrict myself, because I feel like when you start to restrict yourself heavily, that's when it just doesn't work out for you. It doesn't feel like flow. It feels forced. It just doesn't feel right. But I was starting to realize the ways that certain foods and drinks made me feel. Sodas, I at one point was I don't even want to say addicted, but I was obsessed with Canada Dry ginger ale during the pandemic, clearing bottles of it, because for some reason in my mind, I was yeah, I don't drink soda anymore, but I drink ginger ale, it's good for you. And it's because when I was younger, I would drink when I was sick, and it's it wasn't the soda that was good for me. It was the ginger. But I don't know, at the time I couldn't separate that. And Canada Dry, it's freaking soda. It gets full of sugar. And so I was like, I need to cut this out. I can't drink this anymore. And there were certain foods, like I was clearing packs of Oreos. Like, obviously I know that that's bad for you, but like, there were just certain things that was like, when I eat these foods and I drink these drinks, I feel like shit. And I don't like that anymore. And I was like, okay, so then I was paying attention to the foods and the drinks that I was drinking and I would feel great. And I'm like, okay, I need to consume more of that. I need to drink more of that. There's actually this app called the Yuka app. And if you've never heard of it, sit down because I'm about to change your life. So basically it's an app where you can go and scan food, drinks, and even skincare and hair care. And you can scan the barcode and it brings up a list of all of the ingredients in it. And then it also rates that item on a scale of 0 to 100 on how good or bad it is for you. And I'm not saying that a lot of foods are necessarily bad for you, but certain brands, for some reason, put a lot of bullshit and chemicals and preservatives or whatever in the food or drinks, which makes it toxic and it makes it bad. So like I will literally be in the store scanning everything. Like I've been scanning stuff so much that people come up to me and they're like, what are you doing? And I tell them and I show them and they're like, oh my gosh. And in my mind, I'm like, I just changed this person's life because now they're going to scan everything and buy foods and drinks and stuff and use skincare and hair care that actually has cleaner and better ingredients for them. That's not seeping into their body and making them literally feel and think like shit. So yeah, the Yuka app changed my life. I'm literally obsessed. Like anytime I get something, I want to buy it. I'm like, oh wait, let me scan it. And if it's bad and it like, there's so many things that are literally going to like break your heart because you're like, wait, I love this. Why is it a 0 out of 100? Because there's poison in it. But the Yuka app literally gives you suggestions and alternatives. So it's like, okay, you want to eat hot Cheetos. And if you scan hot Cheetos, it's probably like a 3 out of 100. But then it'll suggest like this brand makes these jalapeno chips that are also hot and spicy and it's an 85 out of 100. And so it's like, okay, cool. Like I'll get that instead. And then so after eating a bag of hot Cheetos, even though it satisfied your craving and your dopamine hit, but you feel like utter and complete shit and your stomach hurts, instead, if you eat these jalapeno chips, you'll feel better and probably more energized and fulfilled and not like empty calories. You know what I mean? So yeah, the Yuka app is fire. It's awesome. Anywho, back to my health and wellness. So I started to also move my body in ways that felt good for me. I was never like a hit the gym, pumping iron, lifting weights, running miles and miles. Like even though I ran track in middle school, I didn't like the running part, but I liked the field events part because like there were certain ways that I like to move my body that was good for me. And I feel like so many people think like, okay, I have to go to the gym and do this specific thing because that's how that person achieved their body goals. And it's like, no, we're all different. So I started going on walks and doing yoga and doing Pilates and stretching. And those felt so good for me because obviously I'm moving my body around, but stretching and like slow movements was helping me to, on like an energetic and emotional level, release emotions and stagnant energy in my body. So it was just doing a lot for me in the best way. And then when it came to my mental health, I had already been doing mushrooms for years. So my mental health was dramatically improving and I was seeing great results from that. But I also started to do other things to improve it too, like going to therapy and being mindful of what I watched and what I consumed, like on the internet and TV and books and music. Like all of that stuff affects your mental health and your perception of yourself and your perception of the world. Like I stopped watching the news years ago, but I sometimes like honestly really still can't believe when people watch the news and they're like, why am I fucking pissed off and irritated all the time? And it's like, babe, because you're literally filling your mind and your body with negativity and drama all the time. Of course you're not going to feel good or think good. Duh. Like you're filling your mind with the worst stuff. So yeah, I was being very mindful of even the conversations that I was having with people. Like when I would call certain friends and they would just be a pure gossip sesh, I was like, I do not feel good after this conversation. Like this is not good. This isn't a way for me to even connect to this person. I don't feel like I won't even tell this person anything about myself because clearly they can't be trusted. It was just a lot. So I'm like, I was becoming more mindful of just what I was speaking, reading, consuming, watching, listening to, all of that. And that really played a part in improving my mental health. So I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people do not pay attention to, and most people are suffering with it, but they're just, I don't know, it's like they're blind to it or they're just normalized, is like a lot of people are chronically stressed, like so unbelievably stressed, and they bring these stressors into their life, or they just like, I guess, don't eliminate them from their life, and they don't realize that that's what's causing them insane amounts of stress. So I found ways to naturally calm and regulate my nervous system. I learned about what my nervous system even was, and then found different methods and then even actual natural remedies to calm and regulate my nervous system, because your nervous system can become dysregulated from trauma. And if you experience like a lot of trauma as a kid, your nervous system has probably been dysregulated for your whole life, like for decades at this point. And so there are ways to regulate your nervous system and calm it, because when you have a dysregulated nervous system, that affects your sleep, that affects your mood, that affects your ability to feel safe and secure in this world. Like it affects so many things. It affects your finances, your relationships, like everything. So I found different ways to manage stress in my life and calm me down. And so now I'm at like an equilibrium of just feeling calm and good all the time. And like normally things that would like get me hyped and heightened and like pissed off and stressed out and this and that, like they don't even bother me anymore. Like I'm no longer anxious or depressed or any of that, because I've literally calmed and regulated and I think healed my nervous system. And on top of finding ways to regulate my nervous system and like calm me down when I'm like feeling stressed, I eliminated things and people that were adding stress and negativity to my life, because at one point I'm like, okay, do I need to just like keep taking ashwagandha all the time and like doing deep breaths all the time and taking breaks throughout the day to feel better? Or am I just like literally surrounded by people who stress me the hell out? Am I having conversations with people that are not bringing any positivity to my life? Or like, am I at a job that like is soul sucking? You know what I mean? Like when you start to evaluate the things and the situations and people in your life and being like, okay, who is like adding to my life and who is literally draining me and who is adding so much stress and negativity to my life? And when you start to evaluate that and eliminate the things and the people that are, your stress levels dramatically decrease. Like you feel so much better. And on that note, during the pandemic and like the years of like 2020, 2021, maybe into 2022, I was evaluating a lot of the relationships in my life. Like a lot of the friends that I had from when I was literally a kid, like in middle school and high school, and relationships I've been at the time, like my current boyfriend at the time. And I was just like, okay, like some of these people are not good for me. Like a lot of these people that I became friends with them when I was at a certain point in my life where I was either very, very, I don't know, stressed or very toxic, like partying a lot, drinking a lot, like in toxic relationships, or like at jobs that I hated, or when I felt really low about myself. Like I connected with people at times in my life when I wasn't feeling my greatest, right? And then as years and time went on and, you know, you're forming connections with these people, and now I'm healing and growing and learning, and I'm no longer at that point in my life anymore. But those people, not necessarily that they still were, but like they were holding me back and holding me to a standard of myself that I had been working so hard to grow from. So I'm just like, we're not aligned anymore. It's not like any beef, like no negativity, nothing like that. Like I wish them well, but I was like, we're literally not aligned anymore. We're just going in different directions and going in different paths. And when I was able to let some of those relationships and friendships go, my life skyrocketed. And I was like, oh wow, it really was holding me back. And like I said, I wish these people well, and I hope that on their path, they're doing good too, because there might have been ways that I was holding them back as well. And that just comes with growth, and that comes with growing and healing and learning that like not everybody is going to just stay with you throughout your entire life. Like think of people that you knew when you were like 7. You might not know them now, and there's no beef. There's nothing wrong, but like you guys just grew in different directions. Maybe you went to different schools, or maybe you guys started doing different hobbies and you didn't, that's just kind of how it goes. And every so often we got to kind of evaluate the people in our lives, and are they adding to your life or are they draining you? Was this somebody that you became friends with based on something negative because maybe you both didn't like somebody, or because maybe you both were in toxic, abusive relationships and bonded on that? Like, and it's like, are you still at that point in your life? Because if you're not, that relationship and that person is still holding you to that point of your life as much as you're trying to grow from it and let that part of you go. So yeah, that was hard. Like that definitely was hard to do, but it was so necessary and I'm so grateful for it. Like the biggest thing is like, oh my gosh, when I stopped drinking, I think the hardest part about it is when I stopped partying and being that party girl wasn't necessarily the act of drinking and going out, because like in all honesty, I literally fucking hate staying out late at night. I hate waking up feeling hungover. I don't like going out and saying stupid stuff and being wasted, blacked out. Like it's not fun. Doing all that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could easily go without all of that. What it was the people that I became friends with along the way, like the relationships I formed along the way. I worked in bars. Like I worked for companies selling alcohol. Like my entire lifestyle, friendship groups, like circles was all circled and centered around partying and drinking and like that whole lifestyle. So I was like, when I realized like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm thinking like, okay, cool. Like maybe like everybody around me is going to be growing and healing too and not wanting to do that anymore either. And I was so fucking wrong. It was honestly kind of devastating in the beginning. And then like I came to terms with it and I was okay. But yeah, that's really what it was, realizing like, oh my gosh, like I'm trying to move in this direction and feel good. And like, I can't hang out with you anymore. Not because like I hate you or anything, but because like you are triggering me in your lifestyle and like you don't want to heal and you don't want to change and you want to keep drinking and doing drugs and partying and having toxic lifestyle and relationships. And like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to have these kinds of conversations anymore. And it was kind of like I fizzed out of a lot of my friendships in my life. And this happened like in my late 20s. I was like 29 years old, like 30 years old. So then I'm like 29, 30 years old, like, all right, cool. Like learning how to make friends again and learning how to, but it was cool because I was now making friends based off of who I am now, not who I was when I was a depressed and anxious teenager or a college student. You know what I mean? So it was cool. I was learning how to form and making great friendships that were healthier, that were happier, that focused on their mental health and prioritizing their health and well-being and wanting to learn and grow and had growth mindsets and had big goals and big dreams. Like it was really cool. Like I said, it was daunting and I was like, holy shit, and kind of upset and depressed for a little bit when I realized there was a lot of people that I needed to just not be friends with. But like the more that I let them go and like gracefully, it wasn't like, fuck you, I'm not friends with you anymore. Like, no, it wasn't like that at all. But like when I finally started to let them go, I was making space, like I said, for all these new relationships and these new friendships that were higher vibe and like more aligned and more connected and just genuine and actually authentic. I also think that came along from healing the relationship that I had with myself, because how you treat yourself and how you feel about yourself is how you are going to allow other people to treat and feel about you. So if you don't think highly of yourself and you don't think you're worthy of more or worthy of respect, like you will subconsciously allow people to disrespect you and you will allow people to not treat you good and put you on the back burner. And I did that for so long. Like I did not have high self-esteem. I was very self-conscious. Like I showed up in the world as confident. Like I felt, I like now looking back, I was like, okay, yeah, like I definitely showed up in the world as confident, but it was more so to hide like how I truly felt about myself deep down. Like I didn't actually feel secure with myself and I didn't have the highest self-esteem. And that reflected in my relationships and that reflected in my friendships and that reflected in the way that I felt about myself. Because I'm like, okay, if I really love myself and I think highly of myself, why am I drinking poison excessively every weekend, which is causing me to act crazy and have horrible friendships and toxic relationships and make my body feel like shit? Like, why am I poisoning myself? Why am I smoking excessively and doing these things and numbing myself? And just like, why am I doing these things if I truly love myself? Because it's like, because I didn't, because I really truly didn't. Because when you really and truly love yourself and love your body and you want to take care of yourself, you're not going to like treat it like shit. You're not going to let anybody else treat it like shit either. So yeah, self-love and self-worth and healing your relationship with yourself is a huge aspect of holistic health. Because like I said, it's your mind, body, and soul. It's your soul. It's you. It's like, how do you feel about you? Because how you feel about you is how other people are going to feel about you and treat you too. It's what you're going to allow. So don't let in that bullshit, because once you start loving yourself and treating yourself good, you're like, yeah, I'm not, no. It's like a bubble. Like if you're coming to me, you're going to treat me just as good, if not better, than I treat myself, because that's how I feel about myself. I hold myself to such a high standard of how I treat myself. So I'm going to hold you to that same. And if you're not going to meet it, it's not going to work out. You got to bounce. So yeah, I literally examined all aspects of my life and found ways to heal and improve it in a natural and holistic way. And the best part about all of this was that while all this was going on, I was posting about my life, aka my holistically healthy lifestyle, on social media. And I wasn't even doing it in the sense of like, okay, when I first started posting on social media, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to be a health and wellness content creator. Like I wasn't that. I just was literally just posting my day-to-day life. Like, oh, I'm at the beach and I'm reading, or I'm at the plant store and I'm gardening, or oh, I just made this smoothie and it was really good, or oh, look at this tea I'm making. Like that, I was just literally posting about my life. And then over time, that's what, people started to follow me for and know me for. And so then I was like, okay, cool. Like as I'm taking it more seriously, I'm like, okay, let me continue down this path of like being a health and wellness content creator, because that's like what's working for my page. And that's just how I'm living my life. And in a sense, that held me accountable to fully adopting this lifestyle, because like this is kind of like what my page is about. This is what I'm now selling products around, digital products, physical products, like brand deals. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I need to keep this up. And then so it was already my life in general, because it's not like I was like, okay, yeah, my content's about me getting drunk and lit and stuff and talking shit all the time. It wasn't like that. Like my content was about me living a holistically healthier lifestyle and the things that I'm learning and the ways that I'm growing and the ways that I'm healing. So I was like, I was just I was posting every day. So that just locked me into that lifestyle. And it was honestly so great. And I'm so, so grateful for that. And by staying disciplined, I completely transformed my life. And honestly, a very short amount of time. Like the way that I was before was how I was for like 15 years, like from when I was like literally 15 years old until I was damn near 30. And then like I was able to like switch it up and transform my life to being like a healthy and happy and confident woman so short. And I was like, whoa, this is damn, like who, like I remember looking back like a year, the point that I was like, very much that was who I am. I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm a completely different person now than I was literally a year ago. I was like, I'm healthier, I'm happier, I'm more confident now. I have more energy. I get better sleep. I have zero stomach issues, which was a huge thing that I dealt with for so long. Like stomach problem girlies, like we made it like an aesthetic. Like, no, babe, our gut health was off. Our gut was leaking. It was a bad thing. My mental health, I was like, my mental health is amazing now. My skin is freaking glowing and I have such healthy and great friendships and relationships. It was like, what? Like, this is incredible. What the heck? And then I was pursuing a career that I felt so passionate about and genuinely fulfilled. And it was tied to me living this lifestyle. I was like, this is a win-win-win. Like, this is freaking awesome. It was almost like I felt more vibrant and younger than I did 10 years ago. Like, I'm 32 years old now. And when I was 22 years old, baby, I was stressed, anxious, party lifestyle, unhealthy, toxic friendships, fake friends, toxic relationships, like insane. Like I felt like and when you're stressed, literally makes you sick and it literally ages you physically and mentally. Like I look and feel younger than I did 10 years ago. It's honestly amazing. I'm genuinely just so proud of myself. And the funniest thing is that I stumbled into this life. One day I wasn't just like, okay, I'm just going to get healthy and heal my mind, body, and soul. Like it was not like that at all. I think because I was doing mushrooms for a while, it was starting to reveal to me ways in which I was holding myself back. And one of those being my overall health and wellness. And I was not about to just get big pharma pills for my mental health and physical health. Like that shit does not work. I was so much more interested in learning the natural and holistic methods that have been used for thousands of years, by the way, to heal my mind, body, and soul. It was an incredible transformation that I went through. And I'm honestly so happy that I have documentation of it. Like my entire TikTok and Instagram is me completely going through this holistic health journey. And when like memories pop up and it's like this day 2 years ago and I'm like, what you posted on TikTok? I'm like, oh my gosh, like one, I'm so much more confident on camera now. Like I've grown so much just like in my craft of being a content creator. And two, like, oh my gosh, I was like, oh, I remember that day when I figured out that rosemary was really good for my focus. And when I started drinking rosemary tea, I was able to like get so much more stuff done and like stay focused and it was good for inflammation. I was like, what? Like this is like, and I remember that. And now I'm like, yeah, that's just like a part of my life now. But I remember that day, like the memories popping up is just super cool for me. So at this point, I'm sure you're like, okay, that sounds great and all, but like, where the hell do I even begin? Like, how can I get on this? And I got you. I literally took everything I learned about holistic wellness and microdosing mushrooms and created an easy to digest LOL. An easy to digest program. I talk about mental health, physical health, natural remedies, healthy drinks, and food, and so much more. In the program, I also included an entire holistic health guide, herbal remedy chart, wellness product recommendations, and then along with all of the sections that I teach you everything about microdosing mushrooms, including where to get them from. It's called the Higher Self Mastery Program because that's exactly how I feel, like my higher self, like my highest self. I feel like the most authentic, healthiest, happiest, and most confident version of myself, all from focusing on my health in a natural and holistic sense. It's truly just an incredible feeling. So I'll put a link to the Higher Self Mastery Program in the show notes. Also, if you're not, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Shally Way. Like I said, I post content on there showcasing my wellness lifestyle, and my DMs are always open to any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Psilly Talk podcast. I hope you gained some insight on holistic health and wellness and learn different ways that you can improve yourself as a whole. It's really not as hard as you think, and you're more than capable of doing it. You just have to know about it and learn about it, because I didn't know about this lifestyle. Like, I had no idea. And this has been around, like I said, for thousands of years. And once I started to learn about it and practice these methods, it was like it just all unfolded so easily, because I feel like this is what our bodies are naturally supposed to do. Like, it's almost like instinctual. So yeah, I believe in you. You got this. We'll be back next week for another episode. Bye.